All right, guys, welcome back. So the final preview of each of the prelim nights at the Chili Bowl Nationals is now here. We are talking about the Friday night prelim, which is taking place 1 week from tonight. The Chili Bowl begins on Sunday for practice day, and the first prelim is on Monday. So it's coming up very, very quickly. Here's a couple of numbers for you to feast on, as well as the last 5 feature winners for the Friday night prelim. Then in the end of this video, I will talk about my top 10 drivers who I think will be running up front on the Friday night portion of the Chili Bowl. So on Friday, as of right now, there are 75 total entries, which was up. It's up from the beginning of the week, which saw 70 entries on Friday. So up to 75, which is still tied for the least amount of entries for each of the prelim nights. And the entries overall is up to 388, which is 5 shy of the record. So good chance we could see a record as far as Chili Bowl entries go here in 2025. But right now, 75 going on Friday, along with 2 TBA entries. One of those is an RMS racing car, the 7T, I believe, or the 7U or something like that. I don't know what's going on there because they put out a press release saying that their 2 drivers are Brad Sweet and Spencer Baston, and so they have a TBA car for Friday. Don't know what's going on there. 12 Chili Bowl rookies will be racing on Friday as well, making their debut at the event, which is the 4th least amount. We mentioned that Monday has the most rookies with 22, so only 12 on Friday. There are 11 former Saturday A main event starters racing on the Friday night prelim, which was tied for 4th best, which is actually the worst, tied for the worst amount going on one single prelim night this year. And last year, there were 120 drivers that made a prelim feature event. This Friday night race only has 21 of those 120, which actually is second best out of all the prelim nights so far. So that is a good number. The rest of the numbers, not the best. I mentioned it, I believe, on Monday that I think Friday is the least competitive. I think there's the least amount of guys that can run up front, the least amount of top-notch competition overall out of the rest of the nights. So we'll see how it goes. There's still some really good drivers, don't get me wrong, but I think the field is not quite as deep as the rest of them. The last 5 Friday night winners. We begin with Logan Cie, the defending Chili Bowl champion. He got the win last year from the 7th starting position, so he came from row 4 to get the win, driving obviously for Kevin Swindell. He did the same thing in 2023. That time he started on the pole, though, and was able to win that race. 2022, it was Justin Grant driving the RMS Racing 2J. He started from 4th in that one. And in 2021, it was Justin Grant as well. He started 2nd, got the win, also driving for RMS Racing that year. And in 2020, it was Tanner Thorson driving one of the 98 cars he's ever driven at the Chili Bowl. That year, it was the Hayward Motorsports 19. He started 5th and got the win 5 years ago. Now, let's get into my drivers who I think, in some, not in any particular order, as I mentioned, but maybe there's somebody new watching. These are my picks for the guys that will finish in the top 10 in no particular order. I think these are the top 10 drivers that are racing on the Friday night prelim. We're going to start things off, and we have to with the 2-time and defending Chili Bowl champion, Logan Cie out of Sutter, California. He's driving the Swindell Speed Lab 39 car, and he has an opportunity to do something this year that has only been done twice in the 39-year history of the Chili Bowl, and that is for somebody to win it 3 times in a row. Christopher Bell has done it, and Logan's car owner, Kevin Swindell, did it. He did it 4 times in a row, but ever since Bell did it, I want to say his last year was 2021 or 2020. Ever since then, it has not been done again. Kyle Larson got close. He ran twice, couldn't get it done the 3rd time, so Logan Cie, he has an opportunity to make a little bit of history or tie history this next week. Also going on my list here is going to be a guy that made the show last year on the Saturday night portion. It's Chase McDermott, the driver out of Illinois, car number 40. He has a Spike Speedway Toyota. This guy has come a long ways here over the last 3 or 4 years. I remember the first time he showed up to the Chili Bowl, I want to say he didn't even have like a real midget motor. He had like a not an Ecotech by any means, but it was one of those like Badger midget engines, or not quite the full-blown midget engine, but he was impressive even that year, and he's come a long ways. Extreme Outlaw Midget Series, got a bunch of wins with them, got the win at the BC 39 this year with USAC. Chase McDermott, incredible race car driver, still, in my opinion, very underrated, and he is definitely a guy that I'm going to be looking at when it comes to the Chili Bowl pool as far as picking guys. Great equipment, great driver. tends to keep his nose clean, has a good head on his shoulders, I think. So I've got him on my list as well. Number 3 is going to be one of the Keith Kunz Motorsports entries for Friday, and that is Ryan Timms, the driver out of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. He will be in the 67 car for Keith Kunz Motorsports, and he next year, he's not going to be a midget racer anymore. He's going to be a full-time sprint car racer with Lee Big Motorsports, the number 10 car, and so I think he's going to try and go out with a bang with his midget career. Obviously, he's not done racing midgets, but this will probably be the last midget race that Ryan Timms does for quite a while, and so I think that he's going to be driving really hard to try and make something happen. He has been good in the past, not incredible, but I certainly think that he's going to be a top 5 guy to watch for when it comes to the Friday night portion of the Chili Bowl Nationals. And then we're going to move on to one of his teammates, and I already picked him in one of these selection show videos on the pool I'm doing for the channel, and that is Michael Pickins. I think he's going to be number 54. It still shows a TBA for the number for him on the entry list, but I think he's going to be number 54. Great looking car. He's with Keith Kunz Motorsports. As we've well documented here on the channel, they have the setup ready to go for all 16 of those cars. They got a heat race setup. They got a qualifier setup. They've got a feature setup. They know what to do to the car. Michael Pickins knows what to do as a driver. Honestly, if things go his way, Michael Pickins, in my opinion, can run up front and be top 3 on the Saturday night portion if things go his way. He is that good. We just don't get to see him too often here in the States. Coming all the way from New Zealand to race, I've got him at number 4 on my top 10 list here for Friday. Now, moving up to number 5, a guy that has made the show 3 times in his career, and that is Michael Facento out of California, Hanford, California, to be exact. He is driving a Trifecta Motorsports car, the number 5U. We've seen Facento make the show in a couple of different cars in his career at the Chili Bowl Nationals. He's made it 3 times, should have made it 4. I'm not going to get into that, but yeah, I think he's got a great shot to do it again this year. Those Trifecta cars, teammate to Zach Dahm, teammate to Kyle Spence. I know I'm missing one other one in there. Those cars are very, very good. And Michael Facento is an underrated driver. He's done incredible things behind the wheel of a midget, behind the wheel of a non-wing sprint car, behind the wheel of a wing sprint car. He's won the Tulsa Shootout before in his career. Michael Facento is going to be a guy that is in the mix. No doubt in my mind will be in the top 10 on the prelim night. Now, number 6 on the list, and I honestly had a hard time putting him on here because of the performance that this team had on the West Coast with USAC, and that is Tyler Courtney. So Sunshine, as you probably well know if you watch dirt racing, you saw how good he was this year with High Limit Racing. Finished second in the overall point standings there. He is a former, full-time USAC driver, whether that was with the sprint car, the Silver Crown car, or the midget. He knows midgets very well. It's just with this team and Paul Silva car, they just did not have they just didn't have everything put together, it seemed like. They weren't comfortable. At least the driver seemed like he wasn't very comfortable. Got upside down at Tulare when they raced with USAC, and when it happened, he was running like 17th at the time. They never really showed race-winning speed, really top 5 speed at all out there on the West Coast. But maybe when it gets indoors, Tyler Courtney can get back on the horse and get going and maybe show some speed. If he does run in the top 10, I'm going to say it's the back half, maybe like 8th, 9th, or 10th. But there are some guys that I will not have on this list that could potentially overtake him for one of these spots. But I think that he's such a good driver normally that I feel like that's going to maybe catapult him, especially with the kind of the lesser competition on Friday. I think that'll help out Tyler Courtney a little bit and help him kind of make the top 10. Another guy that I think is going to be in the top 10, if there is no bad luck, and that is going to be Darren Pitman, the former World of Outlaws champion, is one of those guys that seemingly every year has the worst luck at this race. There was one year where Darren Pitman started the car like 23 times in one night. Like, you saw him pull on the racetrack, he fired the car up, he went up the ramp, and he did that almost every other heat race, it seemed like. And he's done that a couple times. He's blown engines, and he's had to make engine swaps, and all kinds of crazy stuff happens to Darren Pitman. But when the car runs, he is usually very, very fast. And so Darren Pitman, so long as nothing goes wrong, I think he's going to be a top 10 driver on the prelim. I know a lot of people in yesterday's video had commented on, their picks that they were going to take Darren Pitman in Group 2. If Pitman, I don't know. I think Group 2 might be the right spot for him. It's just with the track record, right, of having so many issues, it is hard for me to take him and feel comfortable that nothing's going to go wrong, especially when you're trying to win, a couple grand on the Chili Bowl pool. Maybe if things go right for him this year, I'll give him a second look next year. But for now, I'm going to leave Pitman off the Chili Bowl pool, my pool, but I'm going to put him on the top 10 for Friday night. Number 8 on the list is going to be a guy that is just, he's old reliable, man. He really is. Andrew Felker is going to make it on the list. The driver out of Missouri, the 11A car. Guy runs, he runs a little bit here and there, maybe 20 races a year in the midget around the Oklahoma area. Doesn't really run at all with USAC. Doesn't really run with the Extreme Outlaw Series. Runs a little bit with the Power Eye West Series, right? He's a very under-the-radar driver, but he comes above the radar. He shows up on the radar every year when it is Tulsa time at the Chili Bowl Nationals. Last year, Andrew Felker, I can't remember where he finished, but was it the year where he went like 21st to 2nd or something crazy? There was one year where Andrew Felker flipped on the practice night. He bent the front of the car, took it back to his shop, put it back straight, came back out on his prelim night and was able to lock it into the show. This guy, there's not many guys that roll the bottom better at the SageNet Center than that guy right there. I am 100% without a doubt. I don't even know who's in his group, but he's going to be on my Chili Bowl pool. Felker is just way too consistent. As long as nothing breaks or he doesn't get into a wreck, he's going to be a guy to watch for each and every time. Number 9 on the list is going to be Ricky Stenhouse Jr. He is going to be driving a Chad Boat Industries car this year. And I mentioned it, I think, yesterday in the pool selection show that if Ricky Stenhouse Jr. shows up to the Sunday practice and is able to get in the car for both of those practice sessions, I think he's going to be a guy to watch for on his prelim night. He's made the Saturday A-Main 8 or 9 times in his career. And this guy is not afraid to gas it up. We see a couple of these guys come from NASCAR. I'm not talking about Larson or Bell. Like, those guys obviously know what they're doing. But there's a couple of these guys that come in from NASCAR and the pavement stuff, and they are a little bit weary. They're a little bit worried to get on the throttle and make things happen. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., I swear, that guy goes out there. He does not give a shit what happens to him on the track. He's absolutely gassing it each and every time. And we got to remember that Ricky Stenhouse Jr. back in the mid-2000s was one of the best that USAC has ever seen, especially in the non-wing car. But I'm going to put Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in a potent Chad Boat Industries car. If he gets those practice laps, I think he's going to be definitely a guy and a fun one to watch, either upside down or running up there towards the front of the field. So give me Stenhouse at number 9. And our final guy in the top 10, you're probably wondering where he's at. It's going to be Justin Grant. So Justin Grant, we talked about him earlier on in this video, 2-time winner of the prelim night on Friday. He has been very, very close to winning the overall Chili Bowl in his career. Has led some laps, I think, on a couple of different occasions, but has never been able to close it out. The one thing I am a little bit worried about with him is he's getting in a car he's never been in. He's been in the same midget for the last 4 or 5 years, maybe 3 years, with RMS Racing. He's going to be running a Chad Boat car, has no laps in it as of right now, unless they went in practice, but I haven't seen anything about that. He'll get the laps on Sunday, and then he's going to have all week to think about what he's going to try and do. But Justin Grant, we've seen him. It's been a tough year, no doubt, in the midget for Justin Grant. I don't even know if he got a win with USAC, maybe 1 or 2, but it has been a down year for sure for him on the USAC trail. But whenever that guy's got a roof over his head and he's driving a midget, he is just, something is different. I don't know what it is, but when he's inside of a building racing a midget, Justin Grant can run with the best of them. So I think with him inside that CB Industries car, maybe this will be his best ever opportunity to maybe win the Chili Bowl. And we've seen him be good in that RMS car. And I would be willing to say on the record that I would say CB car is better than the RMS stuff. So we'll see what Justin Grant can do. Teammate to Ricky Stenhouse, teammate to Chris Windham, teammate to Zach Weigel, teammate to 20 other guys as well, but they all have great equipment. So that is my top 10 right there for the Friday night prelim. We got Logan Cie, we got Chase McDermott, Ryan Timms, Michael Pickins, Michael Feno, Tyler Courtney, Darren Pitman, Andrew Felker, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and Justin Grant. So let me know who you think will be the best down in the comment section below. Give me your top 10. Who am I forgetting? Who did I leave off? Who shouldn't be on there? Let me know your thoughts down below. Also, hit like, hit subscribe, and we will be back later on today to do the Group 3 selection show here on the Rodman Rundown. Thank you all for your support. Talk to you again soon.